What up, y'all? The Knight of Green here with a guide on making JWE2's Jurassic Difficulty Challenge Mode a fun and relatively not painful experience. If you follow this strategy, expect the following to occur. 1. You'll be able to complete this challenge on any map in about 3 to 6 in-game hours. 2. You'll be allowed to use practically any prehistoric species that you want. 3. No healthy dinosaurs will be at risk of dying of old age. 4. Problems and setbacks will be at a minimum. And 5. Your park will be a safari tour adventure, similar to how John Hammond's vision for Jurassic Park and how JP era parks were designed in JWE1, which, I'm kind of still mad that challenge mode doesn't have this as an option in JWE2, but this is neither here nor there. Do note, my guide is not the most time efficient strategy, as for 4 out of 5 maps, literally just spamming innovation centers and attraction buildings can complete these challenges in 1 to 2 hours. However, that 1 to 2 hour strategy does not work for Northwest United States due to the emergency shelters having a build limit. Because of these limitations, it inspired what I'm presenting here that will work on this map as well as on all other maps. So to start the strategy, the first thing you need to do is reposition the location of your arrival point to be roughly in the dead center of the map. While this may seem ludicrous and a time waster, it becomes very apparent why this is done shortly. After doing this, we're going to play a little cheesy and do the Innovation Center and attraction setup as detailed in Best in Slots guide. Check this video out if you haven't already. However, here are a few things I will say on how to optimize that strategy. First, make sure all the food, drink, and shop places are centrally located with the attractions circling around them. This allows you to get the most out of a small space while cramming a great deal of attractions. Also, if you're on a map with wild dinosaurs, do not worry about building a hatchery to make a struthio for research purposes. Simply build a viewing window and fences around wild dinosaurs, and the game will treat this as if you had made and owned them. You can sell these dinosaurs whenever you want, or you can keep them. Doesn't really matter, your choice. If you feel it is too cheesy to use attractions, you can use dinosaurs, but it will take much longer to win due to the appeal nerfs early in game, which, unfortunately, building attractions bypass. Again, my goal here is to minimize pain while still being able to use dinosaurs. I do not like how this challenge mode completely devolves into a SimCity simulator, though, if you just use attractions. So anyway, back to the guide. I usually build attractions and save money till roughly about the 2.5 star mark before I even start adding any dinosaurs to the park, which in fact, you can actually use the strategy to make it so that you don't have to sacrifice herbivores to feeding carnivores on the Northwest United States map. While you're gathering money passively, you're working on your vision for the future of the park. Take this time to fence the edges of the map and plan where you want your dinosaurs' enclosures to be. Remember, since we remodeled our starting location, we have much more freedom when it comes to placing our enclosures. I would suggest going into Sandbox and practicing with making sure you can hit or bypass the target appeal scores with whatever animal species that you want to use. Also, during this time, create multiple tour vehicle rides that will traverse the islands at max vehicle capacity. Lastly, make sure to have a monorail track that goes through the whole map with at least 3 to 4 stations. Even if you do not need all of the stations for improving the transportation score, these extra stations essentially generate more trains to serve as additional quote-unquote safari tours, as the constant flow of trains can make sure that your dinosaur visibility is kept extremely high, which in turn will help keep the money and ratings high even when the grounded safari tours are having setbacks and breakdowns. Of course, you will be taking the time to researching what you need and want for creating dinosaurs that you see fit to have. However, here are 13 tips that I want to share from my experience. 1. Minimize the amount of ranger and medical buildings. Because of our centralized location, this helps with reducing the needs to build a lot of ranger or medical facilities, and it improves on the speed in which these entities can operate. Overall, this can help with saving on space, resources, and time, and it also makes with dealing with emergencies relatively trivial. For me, I had a ranger and medical team station to monitor and care for animals on a specific tour route. On Northwest United States, that meant I had 2 of each for each of my 2 tours. Number 2, Minimize the amount of ranger outposts you have. This allows you to maximize the space rangers can cover. I used to put a ranger post in every enclosure until I realized that I could just make sure that I spread them out and they will still get visuals on all the dinosaurs I owned. This also helps with tip number 1 in reducing the ranger buildings needed. Number 3, when dealing with NPC choice prompts, avoid accepting any shady transactions and keep public rating as high as possible to prevent your financial scores from tanking. Money should not be too much of an issue, and most of the times in my experience, accepting money from questionable individuals usually ends up with that getting stolen anyway. Also, make sure you are completing contracts that align with your plans for the park so you can make money doing what you want to do. Number 4, when dealing with scientists and tasks, always focus on having individuals with cost and or time reduction perks, if possible, and find scientists that have the altruistic salary or the motivated trait. In this game, the best way to make more money is to spend less of it and to minimize the amount of time wasted doing tasks. Number 5, improved dig yield as well as more extraction slots are absolutely critical to making sure that you get the most from the fossil extraction centers. Unfortunately, while dig yield is not as powerful as it was in JWE1, you can still make loads of money with it. Also, as a side note, delete this building when you are done searching for fossils. Number 6, know what buildings to replace or repair. Don't send a ranger team out to fix a fence, gate, power line, or substation when they break down. Deleting and building new ones is always the best bet, especially when dinosaurs are at risk of harming guests or when profits can be hugely affected by large electrical blackouts. Number 7, do not waste money and time trying to get a dinosaur to have a 100% complete genome unless you're on a map that forces you to, or you plan on heavily genetically modifying them. Unlike the first JWE, the genome completion process does not affect lifespan or innate appeal for your animals. Personally, I don't really use gene mods all that much anyway. I'm just very selective of the egg batches that I have. However, if you want to play really scummy, you can save before making a batch and keep re-rolling all the egg clutches until you get exactly what type of traits you want. Number 8, make sure to have dedicated alphas with dealing with dinosaur fights. While this is not as big of an issue before patches, in order to completely avoid dinosaurs from fighting amongst themselves and causing deaths and injuries, you have to create a solid pecking order. This is achieved through handpicking which individuals will hatch, or through genetically modifying an individual to have more domineering and physically stronger traits than the others. Once an alpha has established themselves, no one will challenge them unless they are sick or weakened from malnutrition. Number 9, be mindful of where you put feeders and water. Make sure that they are in places that discourage dinosaurs from being on top of tour vehicles. While it is important for tour vehicles to be close to dinosaurs, too close and then there are traffic jams and destroyed vehicles, and we want none of that. Number 10, abuse the pause time feature for practically everything, and I mean literally everything. Most of the time, playing the game should be in pause time, especially if any red emergency prompts have appeared. Only time I really want to be out of pause time is when I'm building fences, tour routes, and monorails, as I'm also getting loads of money and letting the research timers play out. Number 11, keep dinosaurs at roughly 100% comfort, but don't give them more than what they need. It is important to keep dinosaur comfort really high because even during times of crisis like storms, as long as dinosaurs are reasonably comfortable in their enclosure, they really won't want to break out. Even though this strategy is designed to free up more space for dinosaurs, you still need to be mindful that the prehistoric animals will quickly take up space. So you have to make sure you are optimizing all the space available. As a sub tip for this, tour vehicle tracks can be used to give open space requirement for animals. Number 12, constantly check your shops and the layout of the park for optimizing profits and guest counts. Sometimes you may have a 5-star park already there, but minor adjustments to the modules can be what's needed to actually win. Number 13, when you have downtime, take pictures of your dinosaurs from a jeep or a helicopter. Not only does this help with making a lot of easy money, but in my opinion, I find taking pictures a very enjoyable aspect of the game. It's like all the way back in JPOG when you had to take pictures to make a dinosaur calendar. Really cool stuff. Anyway, if you have questions or concerns, let me know and I can answer them. I personally think that challenge mode is by far my favorite mode in the game, in both this game and in the first JWE. and I wanted to help others so they didn't have to suffer as much. But anyway, that's it. Take care and see you soon with more martial arts content. Bye.
If I said this to Owen, I wouldn't hear the end of it for weeks. But to you, well, you're doing great.